And Hester is going to run it out past the 40 into Giants territory. He is going to go all the way. Touchdown, Chicago.
Trying to find somebody open and throws an interception. And it's Charles Woodson's 55th of his career.
Dives for the touchdown, San Francisco.
I want to play desperately, and I'm going to try to drive everyone nuts till they give me a shot.
Favre threw an almost impossible 336 career interceptions.
See that?
Yeah. We have here the Brett Favre interceptions calendar.
It's the lovable kicking bear doll. And guess what? It comes with its own goalpost. Isn't that neat?
Double doink.
Welcome back, sports fans. Cut the cheese, poke the bear, and roast the Niner.
Love
we
it.
are back for the 2024 NFL season. Who's pumped for football to be back? I am all ready. And joining us this year, Gold Rush. You may recognize from our other shows here a pending rebrand, Lord Uther, and of course I am Urza Master. Gentlemen, are you excited for NFL?
I'm ready for some football.
Anyone that takes on a WWE type name and Gold Rush. So next time we do this, I fully expect you to just have all this gold paint on, 49ers on the side of your head in red. That's what I want to see next time around.
Neck, yes. I'm all there.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot going on here. We've got a whole new season. We've got a lot of changes on all of the teams that we represent, not to mention just in the league. But let's kick it off by talking about Da Bears, who, aside from the Vikings, might be having one of the worst off seasons I've seen in a while, because they are still the Chicago Bears. So, Lord Uther, tell us about the Bears.
Yikes. Look, I'm going to summarize this like I do with my students. I'm afraid to be excited. And that's what I've been saying.
Interesting.
Because for years, kind of like the Cubs, even though they had a World Series somewhere over there, but for years you go into a season going, you're saying there's a chance. Like that's how we're feeling all the time. We're drafting these quarterbacks. You say, almost with the intent of, I think I found a diamond in the rough. And Urza Master knows this. With Caleb Williams, I wasn't totally sold because I'm a person. I lean heavily into character, and when I was hearing some of the stuff, first of all, coming from USC, Cade McNown, I've got there's some fear right there. But we all know that Gold Rush is a USC guy. But the idea that he supposedly wanted a piece of the Bears if he was going to get drafted and things like that, and then he set up an LLC because he wanted the Bears to pay his, which, hey, look, great idea from a tax perspective, pay my company and I'll take a corporate draw off of that, whatever, not a bad idea, but I felt like he was trying to bend things for himself a little bit more. I was worried he was going to be selfish. But a lot of things I'm seeing when we talk about character, I love how he was telling his teammates a week or so ago, and my son and I were actually talking about it. He was telling the guys, clean up the field when you're done. Don't leave your water bottles behind. And that may sound like something minimal, but like I always say, the little things add up to a lot. And by holding your teammates accountable, even in that fashion, if he's going to hold them accountable for water bottles, he's going to hold them accountable for their performance on the field. And even though he's a rookie and he's got to earn it, I think those players are buying into that. I also think, bless you, that this is one of the best offensive weapon type teams that we've seen. And really, Caleb Williams should be plug and play. He should be able to step right into that. He's throwing to DJ Moore. He's throwing all these great wide receivers. He's got great running backs set up for himself. I see a lot of potential, and he even made a throw in the and I know it's the preseason. Look, you either got it or you don't. He's rolling out against his body, and he throws a dart down the field that's caught. I mean, it was perfect over the shoulder, right to the sideline. I think he threw it to the Wookie. I'm still caught in another podcast. The rookie wide receiver. Why am I drawing a blank? Odunze. He catches it right over his shoulder, goes out of bounds. Not the kind of throw you might be able to practice, right? I'm going to leave you with this. When I coached, when I first started coaching, during tryouts, during practice, we were doing a lot of things like take a jump shot from here, drive to the basket from there, no defense, right? Shoot a layup like this. This is what I want to see out of you. And as time has gone on, a lot of my tryouts were just scrimmaging. And the kids would ask me, even the parents would be like, why are we scrimmaging so much for a tryout? Why are you doing a lot of that during practice? Because I want to see if you have game awareness and you just understand the flow of a game. You either have it or you don't. I can teach you how to shoot. I can teach you how to play defense. I can teach you how to rebound. I can teach you all that. Do you just have a knack for the game? And you can almost assess your team going into a season being like, it's going to be a long season, or we're going to kick some butt because I just have players who understand the game. I think Caleb Williams has a feeling for the game. And we haven't had that in Chicago since the punky QB that we were talking about earlier there. Jim McMahon, maybe Eric Kramer. I don't even know if I can call him.
Eric Kramer. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that's probably, that's how bad I'm, trying to find something here that'll work. But like we've talked about before, I think we've had 36 QBs to the Packers 3 in all those years. And so if we just can have a serviceable QB that can play, the defense is still solid, we might be able to make some noise this year. So I'm afraid to be excited. I just want to beat the Packers a couple times. And just kidding. So that's kind of where I'm at. So seeing as I brought up the Packers, I guess I need to throw it over to Urza Master to get his feelings on his wonderful team.
Well, the big news, of course, is the extension of Jordan Love. Got done. Highest paid quarterback now in NFL history, I think. That's pretty controversial. The Packers, famous for never wanting to spend money on anybody except Aaron Rodgers and now Jordan Love. Even you look at Brett Favre's lifetime quarterback contract. It was pretty humble compared to these two. I think it's the right move long term. I think in the short term it's going to kind of be a money pinch. That is it worth it? It's hard to say. Love is a great quarterback. Is he going to be the next Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre? I hope so. I would love to see the Packers get that lucky, but that's a high bar. Like Caleb Williams, who I would agree has a knack for the game, a natural ability, clear understanding. I think Jordan Love's in the same spot. I think he's had a lot of good years behind Aaron Rodgers. And based on last year, I think has a really good opportunity to be, potentially a Pro Bowler. Or maybe take us into the playoffs again, maybe even into the championship game if we're lucky. I'd love to see a Super Bowl. Hard to say. I think the pundits out there would want everybody to think that this is the Packers' year, because every year, I will admit, there's a Packers bias. Even now, removed from Aaron Rodgers, removed from Brett Favre, it seems like they're very well talked about. The preseason opener against the Browns, the first team looked really good. We've got big changes at running back. I think they made the wrong move letting Aaron Jones go. I also think that they weren't going to be able to keep him and extend Jordan Love for the money that both of them were going to be due to make. So I think it, sadly, was just one of those hard moves. A.J. Dillon's the one I really don't want to see him go, but I think he might have a tough time making the roster at this point. I think there's some younger guys in there that are very capable. Grant DuBose had that breakout performance. The only thing is, we're a very youthful team. My big caution is we're a very youthful team. And that hasn't changed. We've gotten younger. That's the thing, is every year the Packers are far and away the youngest team. We do fantastic. Don't get me wrong. We've had a good string of years. We've had one or two off years in the past 30. That being said, you're rolling the dice every year with the youth. They need in my opinion, some good veterans in the locker room to really shore things up, and I'd like to see A.J. Dillon be one of those guys. I think he's very capable. He's highly thought of in Green Bay, in the state of Wisconsin, and that's key, frankly, to being a Packer. It just is. I was a little upset that they let Jonathan Owens go. I'm sure he'll do fine in Chicago. I liked him here. That being said, I don't think it was a big loss. I think the defense is going to be stellar this year. We're in a really good mode defensively. I think we finally figured out the blips. It's just, can both sides of the ball get in sync? I feel like that's been our struggle every year, whether it's the offense struggling and the defense trying to hold the game together, or vice versa. If we can find that groove early, which is going to be key given the way the season is set up, with NFC North rivals, we might have a good shot at that first spot and getting a guaranteed playoff run. That being said, it's so early, it's hard to say. We don't know what the final roster is going to look like, but based on that one game, it does look very promising. And again, last year we had this same chat. Like, we're one game in, what do we say? And boy, howdy. You can't say much. I will say, since we have NFC North strongly represented here, I think that the Detroit Lions had a solid offseason. I think they look like they're going to be maybe not as fearsome as they want everybody to believe they are, but I think they're going to have a solid year. I don't think they're the Lions of old. I think they're going to have an 8-9 year. I think they're going to win a couple of games maybe they shouldn't. But I don't think they're a playoff team based on what I'm seeing out of their camp. The Vikings, I really feel bad for this team. I'm going to be honest. That young kid getting hurt in off-season practice and being out for the year. And then they had one of their top wide receivers, didn't he die in a car accident or something? And another one's going to prison. This is the Vikings of the late 90s. It is an absolute mess in Minneapolis, and it's not going to be a good year for them. They're going to have to make some scrambling type moves just to get a serviceable team on the roster. And they weren't going to be good to begin with, to be honest with you. I think they will have, because they're a wild card, because nobody really knows what the quantity is there or quality, they're going to win a few games they probably shouldn't. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be a threat. But as with any time that happens with any team, I look at Cleveland, I look at Miami, Jacksonville, a lot of those teams over the past 20, 30 years have been write-offs, Detroit, and they'll come in and beat you in a trap. So anybody playing the Vikings this year, yeah, they're going to be bad. Don't get trapped. Don't get trapped by them. But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the red and gold elephant in the room, and that is not a take on your weight there, Gold Rush. That is just our newest member of the NFL crew here. Gold Rush, give us some insight in the 49ers and the West Coast represent faction.
Yeehaw! Get ready for the wildest ride in the NFC West. That's right, friends. A tip of the cap to the NFC Central, but everybody knows that it's the Bill Walsh West Coast offense that still rules the day, as well as many coaching trees and extended coaching trees throughout the land. So, a little bit of background to those of you who have not met me yet. I have been a San Francisco 49ers fan my entire life. I was very fortunate that when I started rooting for them as a child was the Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Dwight Clark early years, Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, Brent Jones. I got to enjoy four Super Bowl triumphs with Joe Montana and Bill Walsh and George Seifert, and then a fifth with George Seifert and Steve Young. But it's been 29 seasons since that 1994 team that was young enough to feature Deion Sanders in his prime, since the Niners have held aloft the Vince Lombardi Trophy. And you got to give them credit for at least being in the conversation. They've made the NFC title game 4 out of the past 5 seasons, the only exception being the COVID-shortened and fanless 2020 season. But going all the way back to 2019, they beat the Packers in the title game and then lost to the Chiefs in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl 31-20. Then there was the COVID year. They came roaring back in 2021, and they lost an NFC title game to the Rams in the fourth quarter. And then in 2022, they lost an NFC title game 6 minutes into the game when every quarterback on their roster was injured, and the Eagles blew them out. And then last year in 2023, they upended the Lions in a spirited title game, but once again found themselves on the short end of the Chiefs, 25-22 in overtime. So they do get the bridesmaids awards, but they have not yet reached the altar under the Kyle Shanahan era. John Lynch as your GM, Kyle Shanahan as your head coach. Biggest off-season storylines will go in a trio here. First, we've got a couple of holdouts. We've got all-world left tackle Trent Williams, who is asking for some of that deferred guaranteed money that he is due as a veteran to come up sooner in the contract. So that's just a matter of accounting. Most insiders believe that will get worked out here pretty soon. Plus, having been in the league, close to a decade or longer, he doesn't really need all those preseason reps, they believe, to be in game shape. Brandon Ayuk, a receiver who is still technically under contract and who will still bring home $14.5 million this season, has been angling for a big extension. And it's been a seesaw battle between him and his reps and the 49ers all offseason. At one point, signing Ayuk was a priority. Then it was, we'll see if we can get a team to trade for you. They actually had arrangements with the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots, but Brandon Ayuk did not want to play for either of those teams, so that was scrapped. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers apparently also were in the mix, but they don't really have anything the Niners want. So basically, where are we as of right now? Most insiders for the team believe the Ayuk deal will get done. The first 3 years of a new contract extension are pretty much worked out. The hang-up right now is on a 4th year, whether there's optional money there or so forth. So we'll see if they can pull that together in the next couple of weeks before the season kicks off. The biggest additions to the team was defensive end Leonard Floyd. He's a former Bear. He played there for 4 seasons from 2016 to 2020. And then he joined the LA Rams from 2020 to 2023. And then he was a Buffalo Bill last year for a single season in 2023. He's supposed to line up on the opposite side of Nick Bosa and make the quarterback's life a living hell. So we'll see if Leonard Floyd's got something in there. We have an NFL high 9 Pro Bowlers, all returning to the roster. So when you look on paper, and of course games are never won on paper, no one should be feeling sorry for the 49ers. In fact, it's not so much the opponents that can undo them, but bad health. Any significant injury to any of the skill positions on any level of the defense or offense, and you're talking about a completely different season. But if you can remain relatively healthy, and I say relatively in the NFL parlance, you've got a fighting chance. And these Niners are the envy of many team and their constructions. Based on how they've been drafting and pulling in the shrewd free agency moves. You've got under center Brock Purdy, and it's hard to believe this would be his 3rd season, only his 2nd full season, as he did not, his rookie year, he did not start until week 10 or 11 after Jimmy Garoppolo and that guy, Trey Lance, both were injured earlier in the year. But Mr. Irrelevant, final pick in the draft, has proven more than his mettle as far as being able to comfortably lead an NFL squad to a title game, to the Phillies in which he was injured, and then to a Super Bowl to the Chiefs, which they came up short. He's only 24. That boggles me that we already kind of know Brock Purdy and see that he still has potential and a ceiling that he can still rise to. And yet, he's not even mid-20s yet. The NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, number 23, who's also a big Chicago number. He should return. He's been nursing a sore calf, so they've been taking it easy on the preseason. But that guy can do it all. He can block. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He'll run right through you. He'll run through a brick wall. So nobody likes tackling that guy. And if he can stay healthy again, look for him to do some damage between the hash marks. And then for their big draft pick this year, they had picked up Florida wide receiver Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, and they're expecting good things from him. He's been taking it easy on training camp with a sore calf as well. Now, it's when the defense that I actually have to come and remove the helmet. Oh, there we go. Get some blood back in the old temples there. We made some big changes on defense, and we've lost some key players. We fired the defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, 1 week after that Super Bowl defeat. Nick Sorensen, who was working with the defense as a coordinator before, he's been promoted. His biggest claim to fame before joining the Niners was he was the Seattle Seahawks secondary coach during the Legion of Boom years. So he knows a thing or two about hard hits. And early buzz says that the players like his scheme, like his aggressiveness. So that should be good. We also have former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley. You will remember him for coughing up a big lead against the Jaguars in the playoffs. He was relieved of his head coaching duties, but he has jumped on as an assistant head coach to Kyle Shanahan's unit. And they made a run at Bill Belichick in the offseason for an assistant coach position, but Belichick said, no, I'm just going to take some sweet NFL analyst paydays. Thank you very much. The defense, again, we talked about Leonard Floyd. We also have Devondre Campbell joining at linebacker. He was a star for the Pack attack in 2021. Mm-hmm. We have Fred Warner, who is just a beast. If you've never watched him play, it's a beautiful thing. He reminds you of Patrick Willis, Mike Singletary, some of those great inside linebacker types. I mean, even if you don't like the Niners, and there are plenty of you out there, Fred Warner plays the game right. He plays it hard, and I don't see him taking off plays. And that's not to say I don't foresee it. Yeah, that guy, like whether they're up 20 in the fourth quarter or they're down 15 and need to make a comeback, he gives you 110% effort. We have Nick Bosa, we have Javon Hargrave in his second year, and we have Dre Greenlaw recovering from his ruptured Achilles that he got in the Super Bowl. And who knows? He was playing at such a high level during that game. It was a shame to lose him. You don't want to blame anything on an injury, but I'm sure he could have helped patrol the middle in that second half and kept some of the ball out of the tight ends and slants that they were connecting with big to drive down the field. We did have some losses, though. Eric Armstead, who was an underrated defensive tackle, especially against the run. He has left, as has the Chase Young, the defensive end that they picked up midseason last year. Didn't quite work out. Both of them will go on to better careers, I'm sure, down the road. As far as the special teams, Jake Moody, there were some Niners fans who were a little skeptical of replacing a legend, Bears and 49ers legend, Robbie Gould, with an untested Michigan rookie. And for the most part, Moody, he knew the assignment and he performed it. There were a couple of missed kicks, some blocks, some things that made you, question. But again, like with NFL special teams, consistency is the key, repetition is the key. And as long as he can drill the extra points in the 40-yarders when they need to tie the score with a minute left, I like it. We'll see how the new kickoff rules for all teams will affect special teams. That's going to be an interesting thing to see play out over the season. But I think Uther says he's afraid to be excited. I've kind of the exact inverse of that. I'm cautiously excited, but I want to put my fears at bay because, again, a significant injury or a drop off in production, and suddenly a team that on paper is as anybody's choice for the Super Bowl. I mean, you can pick your favorite teams or whatever. The Niners are going to be in that conversation until they aren't. And so right now, I just want to get through the grind of a 17-week season. Again, relatively healthy. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be bruises. There's going to be things that sideline guys a week or two. We know this. But can you basically be at full strength in late December, early January, which is when they need you? And can you create as smooth a glide path as you can with the playoff format? Again, only one team in each conference is going to get that bye and the home throughout. Everybody else is going to have to, fight for it. So I'm expecting the Niners to have to play, 2 or 3 playoff games if they want to get to the promised land. But that's fine, as long as McCaffrey and Purdy and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and these guys are, Brandon Ayuk, fingers crossed, are out there and performing at their usual high level, then yeah, I wouldn't feel sorry. I think this team, if they play to their potential and stay out of the injury bug, I think 12-5 is probably the floor. I think this could easily be 13-4. And if they overachieve or just play lights out, then you can up the win total accordingly. But this team, playing to their capabilities and abilities, should be no worse than a 12-win team in a division that features the Rams, which if Matthew Stafford stays upright with Pakua, whatever his name is, the Puka Nakia, and Cooper Kupp, the Rams are going to be busy. The Seahawks, they're they've got a new voice, right? Is Pete Carroll's out, so they're going to have some new leadership there. But they're probably a 9-8, 9-7 team, kind of like how Urza was channeling the Lions there. I think the Lions are a better team than the Seahawks right now. And then you have the Cardinals, who, again, the Cardinals are that team that always seem to beat the Cowboys in week 2 when nobody's looking. But then they go 4-13 the rest of the year, and you go, so why did I get excited? Like, they are the definite epitome of a trap team where, the overconfident Jerry Jones boys show up and then get, worked 31-7, and then it's panic time in Jerryland. And then the Cardinals go right back to fumbling 3 punts and turning the ball over in their own red zone 4 times. So hard to see as far as that goes. I don't think the NFC West is as tight right now as the Central. I think the Central has 3, and you might be able to make an argument that 4 teams are somehow going to be, Jimmy jacking it around there. But it's not the NFC South, which, despite all the hype, is still, at least on paper to me, somewhat dreadful. You've got the Panthers, you've got the Falcons, which everyone keeps trying to make happen, like fetch. Like it's Atlanta's year.
Not going to happen.
The Saints are the Saints. I mean, they're just not in the post-Drew Brees era, just not as exciting maybe as they once were, because they haven't settled on who's under center and who's really going to be our signal caller for the future. And then Tampa Bay, I mean, they still play in the league, but post-Brady again, I mean, it's like...
They're the Tampa of post-NFC Central again.
Right. So, I mean, the NFC South, as long as we're going to kick guys when they're down, that division gets a playoff team by default, but I wouldn't see them threatening to get multiple wild card squads in there, if you will.
Yeah.
And then
for sure.
The NFC...
I think that's...
Yeah. The NFC, what is it now? The NFC South.
East?
NFC East, yeah. I mean, do not... If you're buying and selling, and you're supposed to buy low and sell high, do not buy the Giants. Just don't. They're a hard knocks team, and Daniel Jones is not taking them anywhere more than, 8-9, probably. And every time you think early in the season the Giants are going to deliver, they don't. It's like they're 2-0, and they're facing the Eagles at 2-0, and this is an NFC East showdown. No. The Eagles will wax them, 34-17, or even that.
Yeah, that's definitely the Eagles' division.
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
And the Cowboys, until they prove it, they haven't proved it. So don't sit there and tell me
It's never their year. It's never their year. Just stop it, Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
It's never your year.
Although if you want to
But
sound off
interesting
Cowboys
segue,
fans,
though.
put your comments in now
I
and let's
just
get it
got.
on.
Speaking of Cowboy fans, I just got a trash talk on one of these NFC sites, a posting, and we do this every year because we're stupid. We're gonna make our calls for the postseason right here and now. So if one of our picks wins, you heard it here first. But a Cowboys fan clearly put this out there, so I'm gonna go through their whole picks all the way through from the beginning of the NFL playoffs to the Super Bowl winner. And I think all of us are going to disagree with the majority of what they've got here, but this is interesting because, of course, it's a Cowboys fan, so I'm sure you can guess who they picked. But let's start with the AFC. We've got at number 1 overall seed, Kansas City Chiefs. Probably safe, right? Number 2 seed, Baltimore Ravens. Number 3, Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Number 4, New York Jets. Number 5, Bengals. Number 6, Dolphins. Number 7, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
All right. There's their 7 picks of the AFC. The NFC, number 1 overall, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. I think that's probably a safe pick. Number 3, San Francisco 49ers. Number 4, Atlanta. Number 5, Detroit. Number 6, Philadelphia. And coming in at number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think that's our beginning. So we've got matchups across the board. They're picking through the first round the Bengals, the Texans, and the Chiefs get the bye, and then the Ravens. So that's the top 4. The championship game for AFC, they're picking the Chiefs versus the Texans, with the Chiefs winning and going on to the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, they've got they have the Lions beating the Falcons. They have the Falcons beating the Niners, or excuse me, the Eagles beating the Niners, birds. The Packers moving on, and of course Dallas getting the bye. So it's Dallas v. Philadelphia, which would be a fantastic matchup, and Detroit versus Green Bay, which I think is a fantastic matchup as well, but probably not likely. With Green Bay and Dallas meeting in the championship, and of course they've picked Dallas to go to the Super Bowl, and Dallas beating the Chiefs 38-14 in the Super Bowl.
Oh dear.
With 627 people laugh reacting this on Facebook.
Jerry Jones wrote that entire post. Just so everyone knows that.
Yep. So I'm going to throw this to you guys. We don't have to do all the teams that are making the playoff appearances, but let's skip to the championship round. Pick your top 4s. Give us a why, and who's taking home that Lombardi Trophy this year. Let's start with Gold Rush, new to the show. Who you got?
All right, well, I'm going to be conservative, right? I mean, I wake up every morning dreaming of a 49ers Super Bowl, but I'm not so blind as to say that, oh yes, it's just going to happen if I snap my fingers. So until they do the work and until they come through and finally hoist that trophy, I'm going to play it with a little bit of skepticism. I think the top seed in the NFC, again, injury-free right now, I'm going to say I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay mows through the division. I haven't seen their out-of-division schedule yet. I don't know. The 49ers have, I think, the 7th hardest schedule in the NFL. So I haven't seen which other teams the Packers will line up with, home and away yet. But let's just say that they even go 500 or better on those out-of-division games, while making clear statements in the division and getting the best of the Lions, who are overconfident and get declawed. I think Green Bay makes it to the top 4. I think the Niners do as well. I think the Eagles have a bounce back. I think there was some bad blood between Sirianni and some of his offensive players. And I think that's been all watered under the bridge now. I don't think they're the team that goes 13-1 and then loses the next 7 games. But I also don't think that they lose another 6 or 7 in a row and just free fall, face plant either. So they'll be in the mix. However early Dallas can exit the playoffs, assuming they make it, that's what's going to happen, friends. I'm sorry. In fact, Dallas and the Buffalo Bills are my teams that I think could easily go 6-11 if things didn't work out. I think Buffalo has. I think their window has firmly closed, and I think Dallas just. Again, you can only beat the Cardinals for so many times before the bill comes due. So, I think the Green Bay. I think Matt LaFleur and those guys. I think that they could do what the Lions tried to do in the last title game. I think they could upend the Niners in like a title game or divisional playoff round if the Niners aren't careful. I think Jordan Love and them proved that they can go toe to toe with that. And again, depends on who's healthy and who's firing on all cylinders. But again, I can see Green Bay rising to the NFC over in the AFC. I still like those high flying Dolphins, but again, they may come back crashing down to earth in the surf. That's a team that can score in 20 seconds if you're not careful, and it's also a team that if you know how to scheme them, they can look like they're on the treadmill, just going back and forth, back and forth. I also think the Ravens are probably due for a correction. They'll still play hard under Harbaugh, and they'll still give you shots to the kidney and the sternum. We haven't talked about Jim Harbaugh trying to get the Chargers, who have long been thought of as underperforming and so forth. Can he elevate that other team, that stepchild in LA? And you see what he did with the 49ers. He was in a title game in his first season. Will the Los Angeles Chargers, co-roommates at SoFi, will they? Forget Super Bowl dreams, but are they a solid playoff team in the AFC West? Because it certainly looks like the Raiders aren't going very far. The Chiefs will be the Chiefs. The Chiefs will beat themselves, really, before anybody else has done that. So could the Chargers, kind of take another step and at least, look like a playoff team that could win a wild card game in the third round there? So whoever goes to the Super Bowl, NFC wins. No doubt. So if it's the Pack or it's the Lions or it's the Niners, I pick an NFC title winner this season.
Lord Uther?
All right. Just the top 4 teams you think are going to be the strongest making the run in the playoffs? Is that what we're kind of looking for?
Sure.
So I'm going to go. So this is no one gets injured.
Yeah.
That's my whole guesstimate on this. So yeah, I think the Niners are there. I think the Packers definitely continue to build. Eagles are there, and I'm going to throw my Bears into the mix. I'm going for it all, and I'm going to say they're going to be a top 4 playoff team. On the other side, Miami, I think they're going to make a nice little run there. Baltimore, Baltimore's Baltimore. They're going to be there, but they can't seem to win those important games. But to me, they're always right there knocking on the doors. I'm going to say the Texans are going to make a leap and make a push. And, of course, the Chiefs. I just don't know how you stop them. I'm going to have the Niners, Kansas City Super Bowl.
Again.
And again, but I think the Niners' door is closing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think if they don't do it in the next year or two, that might be it for them. So I'm going to give the Niners a Super Bowl. And then that door is going to shut abruptly, and they're going to be done for. And I think the Packers and the Bears are going to be the ones who start ruling the NFC. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So that was quick and concise, but I'm just trying to get to the point there. Urza.
Interesting. I'm going to throw a couple curveballs. I'm going to start with the AFC. I think we're going to see the Chiefs take a tumble after securing the first round, and they're going to come in against a scrappy wild card New York Jets. And I think the Jets are going to make the championship game against the Texans.
Ooh.
And the Texans are going to beat them and move on to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I think you're top 4 NFC. I think you got the Eagles. I think you've got the Green Bay Packers. I think you got the Giants this year. I think they make it to that divisional round by scrap and circumstance. I think they play the Niners and lose. I think the championship is going to be Niners-Packers. And I'm going to take the Packers going all the way. I think they beat the Texans in the Super Bowl this year. I think why not, right? But I do think the New York Jets are going to be the sleeper team this year. I really do, because I think they're in a soft division. They're going to end up with a favorable wild card. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think Miami's going to win. I think they're going to get a favorable spot and knock off the Chiefs unexpectedly, because I think the Chiefs are going to get trapped. They're going to have that bye week curse.
Hey, the only way the Giants get there is if Tommy DeVito is taking them there.
Nice.
Eating those combo sandwiches with some giardiniera and mozzarella cheese, and that takes them the whole way. That's how I see the Giants getting there. It's got to be Tommy DeVito, my friend.
I think maybe the Giants beat the Bears, actually.
Ooh.
Bears come in a wild card. Giants take their division.
Oh. All right, I want to do this. You guys are just going to say yes or no. All right, I'm going to start with Gold Rush here. I'm going to give you all the games, and I'm just going to keep track of your win-loss. We're going to see where we're at the end, all right? So just yes, no to who wins that week, if it's the Niners or the other team. All right, here we go, Niners. Versus the Jets.
Yes.
Minnesota.
No. Is it a home game?
They're away at Minnesota.
No.
At the Chargers.
Yes.
Home against New England.
Oh, yes.
Home against Arizona.
Yes.
At Seattle.
At Seattle, no.
Home against Kansas City.
No.
Home Dallas.
Yes.
At Tampa.
Yes.
Home against Seattle.
Home against Seattle, yes.
At Green Bay.
No.
Wow. At Buffalo.
Yes.
Versus the Bears at the Soldiers Fields, my friend.
Oh, that's not. I think it's tight, but yes, they beat the Bears.
Okay. Versus, so they're at, I'm sorry, home against the Chargers.
Home against the Chargers, yes.
Okay. At Miami.
No.
Home against Detroit.
Yes.
At Arizona.
Oh, yes.
So if I did this right, and my math is awful, I've got you have them go 12-5.
That sounds about what I'm
So
thinking.
that's what we're looking.
Okay.
All right, ready, Code? I'm sorry, ready, Urza?
Ready for
Home
it?
against Philly.
Yes.
Home against Indy.
Yes.
At Tennessee.
Yes.
Home against Minnesota.
Yes. Tight, but yes.
At the Chargers.
No.
Ooh. Home against Arizona.
Yes.
Home against Houston.
Yes.
At Jacksonville.
No.
Home against Detroit.
Yes.
At the Bears. Away at the Bears.
Yes.
You're going to take them.
I'm gonna take 'em.
Against San Francisco. Home against San Francisco.
Yes.
Home against Miami. November 28th.
Ooh. Yeah,
It's a
that's
Thursday.
short week. Is that after the bye or
Thanksgiving.
Nope, they played San Francisco on the 24th.
4
And now,
days
yeah.
after?
So wait a minute.
I'm gonna go no.
San Francisco, then Miami, same week. Big week.
Yes. At
Yeah.
Detroit, December 5th.
Yes.
At Seattle.
Yes.
Home against New Orleans.
We always suck against New Orleans, but I'm going to go yes.
At Minnesota.
I'm going to say yes.
At the Bears on January 5th, my friends.
I think they're going to rest a lot of their players, so I'm going to say no.
So you've got them going 13-7 if I did that right. No, 13-4 if I did that right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll rip off the Bears. All right, I got home against Tennessee. I'll take the Bears. At Houston. At Indianapolis, we win. Home against the Chargers. September 29th. Bears. Home against Carolina, Bears. Home against Jacksonville, Bears. Oh, I got them at 5-1 starting out. This is kind of scary. At Washington, Bears. At Arizona, Bears. Home against New England, Bears. Versus Green Bay, home. Green Bay. Versus Minnesota, Bears. At Detroit. Detroit. At San Francisco. At Minnesota, we win that one. Home against Detroit, Bears learn their lesson. Home against Seattle, Bears. At Green Bay takes it. I got the Bears at 12-5. Come on, Caleb Williams.
That's kind of where we saw it.
Let's go.
Not bad.
I mean, they'd make a hell of a wild card team at 12-5. I do think that the Bears and the Packers are going to be the two strongest in the division this year.
Which team?
I mean, my hope is. Go ahead.
No. Which game? Because I can say for me it's the Packers. Which game did you have the most trouble picking against your team, just based on your gut feeling or whatever you? I mean, like I say, I think we could go to Green Bay and what's that? New Orleans.
I think picking the New Orleans game was the toughest because we historically get trapped by New Orleans like every time, and it should be a win, but that's a real tough one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Detroit game, just because I think Detroit's either going to dominate or they're going to go down the toilet. I think it's going to be one or the other this year. The hope I have for the Bears is they're so young that I think we might have a nice little window that's starting to open up for us. Well, I know I keep saying it, but I feel like the Niners are kind of towards the end of their window. But I think like the Packers are in the same position. The thing that I always admired about the Packers is that they know how to draft. I mean, that's why you've had such a strong team for such a long time. Is your scouting department must be absolutely excellent because you always bring in the right players, and that's something the Bears have always struggled with. We get all these high picks. We're looking for that diamond in the rough almost every single time, and I feel like this year that wasn't what they were looking to do. You know, so here, let me ask you guys this question. Does Tom Brady come back this year? Because there are rumors out there that he is training and might go to the Raiders. But let's just take the team out of it, right? Does Brady come back this year, or is he completely done?
He's done.
He's done.
All right.
Although I've seen him do his little NFL analyst stuff, I'm not impressed either, but doesn't have to be. Fox is giving him an insane amount of money for having never done this before.
Right.
It depends on what kind of shape he's in. I think this is a Joe Montana situation where Montana hits the booth and flames out and then kind of casts his art, hey, maybe the Raiders will pick me up. You know, the older he gets, obviously, the less effective. But yeah, I think he's going to take some of that non-earned money this year, and we'll see how it goes.
And Rodgers stays healthy, huh?
What's that?
Rodgers stays healthy this year.
I think Rodgers stays healthy. Yeah, I think he has a good year.
I think he's going to get
Not a great
tragic.
year, but a good year.
I think he's going to get injured again. I think he might be done. That's just my feeling. But then again, what do you think there, Gold Rush?
I think he probably stays upright. I won't say healthy. I don't think that he misses extended time with an injury. But I think that Aaron Rodgers, I mean, again, that Jets team, if anything you can hang your hat on there, it's defense. That offense is not something where I'm like, holy cow. Now, they do have a legit shutdown defense that can play overachieving ball and that's how they kept those games last season. I mean, they
Yeah.
were losing games by 6 and 4 and 3, and I mean all of that. The defense played out of their minds, but there's no one on that offense where you go, oh my god. I mean, it's all old Packers. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
You,
so,
you know what just absolutely amazes me is the amount of players now in the NFL. Well, for two things have amazed me, which it's not tough to do with me to be amazed. But number one is all the guaranteed money we're starting to see, and I think you're going to see more and more of that. I think the NFL, if the union is smart at some point, everything's going to be guaranteed money. They're the last league to not have that guaranteed money, and I think if any league truly needs guaranteed money, it is the NFL because of the type of injuries that they encounter, right? The other thing that amazes me a lot is just how old these guys are able to play to now. Like Mercedes Lewis is on the Bears roster. That dude's 40. And I was talking to my students the other day about LeBron James, and say what you want about LeBron. To me, he's not the GOAT. But for a 40-year-old, and again, he's the exception to the rule, but we're seeing, like, Kevin Durant's 36 or 37, Chris Paul's 38. Like, these guys are playing into their late 30s when, at least when Gold Rush and I were growing up, if you were 33 or 34, you were an old man.
Done.
you're
Like,
out
what
of,
was Montana? 34, 35, I think, when he went to Kansas City.
Yeah.
And at that point, his elbow was all wrapped up and everything. Like, he had that whole thing going on. But it's pretty amazing what sports medicine, like how far it has come. That's why I was surprised that J.J. McCarthy was completely out for the season. He must have really jacked his knee up bad to be out for that long.
The Vikings training facility, which is very nice. I don't know who they got to design it or who designed the last one, but everybody that practices in Minnesota, they suffered like the most horrific injuries. Like that one guy that almost died, like his leg exploded on the field. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It severed the artery in his leg and his knee.
I don't know if it's the coaching or the training staff. It can't be the doctors because we have like 5 giant sports medicine orthopedic centers in the Twin Cities area. It's just ridiculous. Like, all right, Minnesotans, here it comes. Now, bear in mind, the Bears are the team I hate the most in terms of rivalry. That's just how it is. They're historically our rivals. They are a bigger team. Vikings, you're just an expansion team. Get over it. But y'all don't know how to run a damn football team. Until Ziggy Wilf is out of the picture, you're always going to suck. And I really do think that the injuries and the crap that happens to the Vikings is because they don't really know how to run a football team. They know how to sell tickets to a stadium. And US Bank is super nice. Club Purple is awesome. I've been up there a bunch of times. It's fantastic. It's fun for hanging out, having all you can eat food, having some drinks. It isn't too bad to watch a game there. But come on. Lambeau Field, Soldier Field, Candlestick, or whatever they call it now. Come on. That's where it's at. But fellas, suffice to say we're all excited for football. It's going to be a great year. The best to all of us, except for the Bears and the 49ers. But to all our fans here at Pending Rebrand, are you ready for some football? Because we are going to try to make this an every week thing, talking through the regular season, keeping up with hopefully not as many injuries, but you never know in this league. You never know in these days and ages we are in. Players playing longer, players playing great football, because you got to have players that play, otherwise you're not playing football. Play. Everyone, we'll see you at the gridiron.
good luck.